Hey everybody, what's up? You can see the cover I'm using for this little video, and basically the video entitled, you can see down below, it says the reasons and the reasons not, the redesigns about the basically basically this is about the upcoming redesigns again, and the reasons and reasons not that they're a good idea and that they're happening. And the reason I'm doing, I know that's kind of crazy, I'm going to be saying that a lot, the reasons, reasons not, but basically the whys and why nots, let's just put it that way. But it's called the reasons and whys, and reasons and why nots. It's a good idea and why it's happening. Basically I'm trying to kind of look at it from both ends of the spectrum. Now, a lot of people don't like the fact, there's a lot of fans, let's face it, I said this in a previous video, there's a division of the fan base, with any kind of fan base, that doesn't like the idea that certain characters are going to be changing appearance-wise, and having their appearance changed and everything. They just don't like it. They don't know what it is, they just don't really like it. I mean, one person by the name of Uncle Ben N, if you will, at the SatAM forums, and known as Uncle Ben 59 at the DeviantArt forum, at the DeviantArt site, is basically overall afraid that with these redesigns, you're going to have the characters kind of become nothing more than a cheering squad for Sonic and Tails. That they're just going to be generic again, and they're not going to be themselves. And people have a right to kind of fear that with any kind of redesign of a character. I mean, I'm pretty sure, even though internet wasn't invented back then, back in the 20s and the 30s and all that, and especially when the late 30s, early 40s was coming around, when Walt Disney himself, I guess, along with some of the animators, decided to, give Mickey Mouse a redesign, nobody liked it. I'm pretty sure there was some that were critical about it because his original design was good. And I'm not talking the way back original design where it was just black hands, black feet. No, I'm talking the gloves and the shoes and all that. And they were pretty much okay with that. But then, when, like I say, the late 30s, early 40s came around, you suddenly started to have Mickey and Minnie and Donald and Daisy and even Goofy get all these different redesigns of the character. And even though the characters were still the same, style-wise, I mean, basically you could still see the same style, but there was some differences. There was a big redesign difference with the characters. And I'm pretty sure there were not a lot of people that liked it. But there were also some that did. And there were reasons why it was happening. The same with Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck and even Lola, for goodness sakes. Even though all these characters had redesigns. Now, I know a lot of people look at, let's say, the current Lola and her redesign, and even though it's kind of similar to what you'd seen in Space Jam and even after that, the one thing people look at when they look at the Lola design is exactly what they're afraid of is going to happen with the characters. You see, when the new Lola came out with the Looney Tunes show, she had not only a new redesign, but she had a different personality, very more Looney Tunes-esque, if you know what I mean. Well, the other one she was a Looney Tune. She was kind of loony at times. She said certain things. She was basically a Looney Tune. But you really didn't show no looniness until the end. But still, and her design was very similar to Bugs in some way. But still, when this new Lola came around, the people weren't too happy about it because not only was it a new design for Lola that was similar to her original, but her personality had changed and they didn't like it. But as time went on, they went to accept it because they realized, this puppy isn't as bad as we thought it was. She's funny, And she's basically what a Looney Tune character should be. Now when you take a look at the Sonic designs, that's exactly what's happening here. And what's happening with, let's say, the Sally redesign is the exact same reaction that people had when Lola's redesign and personality was introduced. They don't like it. They don't like it because it's not how they knew Lola, and that's what they're afraid is going to happen with Sally. But you see, I'm among those that don't believe her personality is going to change much. I really don't. And here's why I don't think her personality is going to change. Because even though you can have characters get a redesign, her personality will not change. I mean, let's take a look at back when she first was introduced in the comics. She had a different coloring scheme. She had an orangey brown fur very orangey brown body and blonde hair. And later on, she was given pink body with black hair and a headband. And then eventually she went and finally got her Saturday Am design in there. And then they added the vest. I mean, she even had the pink design, if you will, and short hair, even though it wasn't black, it was kind of like reddish brown, like what she has. But she had her, early comics design in the pilot episode of Heads or Tails of Saturday Morning. So it's not the first time her character has been redesigned, if you know what I mean. It's not the first time. But I can understand why people, are fretting this, because it's been 20 years. And now all of a sudden you want to change it for the 20th anniversary. Now I can understand. Now when we look at the reasons and the reasons why, the whys and the why nots and the reasons not, this is happening. Basically, this falls into that, anniversary yearly category. You see, just like I mentioned with Mickey Mouse, it was over basically it was basically a decade since he had debuted, a little over a decade. And around the early 40s and all that is when, like I say, he started to get the more, what we now know as the Martin design. Because, because it had been 10 years with the original, with the established one, with the one that had been established, so they decided to really establish him even more so, he had to change with the times. He had to get modernized. Because not everybody's going to take a character like that seriously. Well, at least that's what they thought at the time. You take a look at something like Animaniacs, it's an entirely different story. But still, you kind of get my point, right? I mean, the same with Minnie, the same with Donald, Daisy, Goofy, you name it, Clarabelle, Horse Collar, I should say. They all had the designs changed. It was still the same characters, still the same personalities. They were just different. That was the whole point. Okay? That was the whole point. They were just different. And and again, the reaction fans are having with this whole situation with Sonic and all them, and with Sonic and all them, it's more like, it's that same reaction every time something happens. And I'm guessing, and you got to realize this, Sally didn't really get her Saturday Am design in the comics until at least around 94, 95. That was when she started getting it. She didn't get it before then. She got it before then in the cartoon, but she didn't get it before then in the comics. And I think that's what you guys got to realize. And, to me, that's what a lot of people, just don't realize. She had the Saturday Morning design for majority for about 25 episodes, plus including the vest in second season, but she didn't get her Saturday Am design and the vest until around issue 15. And I think that's what a lot of people are kind of mistaking. So technically, when you thought about it, she had it for about, let's see, 215 issues. That was about it. She didn't have it for 230. She had it only for 215. And now we get to the reasons and the whys and why nots it's happening. The reasons and the reasons not. You see, the whys and the reasons it's happening is just like with the whole thing with Mickey. You know, you've had the same design, or somewhat. You've had the same design pretty much for 20 years. And in the eyes of Ian Flynn, Sega, Archie Comics, whoever came up with the idea, they've decided, you know what, it's been 20 years. You know, we can't just keep going on with the same design for the next 20, you know, and this is a new era, this is a new generation. You know, people know about the characters, but we need to really do something with the characters to get them to know them even better. And so the reason it's happening is to, again, as it's been mentioned before, to gain that fan base that knows of these characters, but to get them to more attracted to them by designing them to be more in tune to what the games and the characters from the games look like today. That's the reason it's happening. And also, it's been 20 years. Well, technically 18 years, 18 to 19 years, depending on how you look at it, since the characters have had a redesign. I mean, you take a look at Bunny and Sally. Yes, they've had their long hair. Bunny's had her cowgirl outfit and whatever, had a Daisy Duke outfit, you name it. She's had it, if you will. But the thing is, there comes a time when you can't keep using the same design as much as we don't like it. Like to hear that, there comes a time when you've got to change. It's kind of like when you get out of school for the summer. You kind of look the way you did throughout the school year. Maybe let's say you're a sophomore or junior, you're starting to grow a goatee or a mustache or whatever. And let's say your female friend has the same look she's had before. And then the following year, or a few months later when you go back to school, everybody looks at you, and let's say you've shaven off your mustache, your goatee, or you've cut your hair, and you look completely different. At first they got to look at you at first and go like, you know, so-and-so, is that you? And you got to say, yeah. And the same thing with a female friend of yours. Let's say she has that tomboyish look, if you will, and all of a sudden, you know, she shows up and she's got a different look, and you kind of have that same reaction of like, so-and-so, is that you? And they go, yes. So you see, even though they change their looks, doesn't mean they change their personalities. And I think that's what a lot of people are seeing with this redesign, but there's a reason for it. The reason it's happening is to change with the times. It's basically, this is a different era. This is a different generation of fans. And with a new generation of fans, you're going to have, you know, different design flaws. It's like I say, back in the day, you know, way back there. You know, they changed up Mickey and his friends because it'd been 10 years, and in 10 years you had a different generation. You had a different era. You had to change things up. You had to make things more modern. And that's what they did. They made things more modernized than what you had seen before. You know, and that's one of the main reasons. One of the main reasons is because it's a new generation, it's a new era. And of course, like I said, the other reason it's happening and why it's happening is to attract those that know about the characters but haven't really taken too much of a liking to them yet, starting to, if you will, or starting to slowly take a liking to them. But basically by redesigning them into what they would probably see in the games, they're like, oh yeah, I like that character now. That's basically what it is. And despite whose idea it was, the thought process is, you know, hey, it's 20 years. It's going to be 20 years now. We can't keep having the same design for 20 years. We need to change it up a bit. We need to, as Ian Flynn put it, freshen up the characters, refresh them, you know, reintroduce them, if you will, to the fan base. So that is particularly why this is happening. You know, and that's one of the reasons why, if not the main reasons. reasons, it's occurring.